what you can expect when you're living in London. That's a good question. How the reality of London looks like. So let's talk today about 10 things that you can expect when living in London or when coming to visit London. Of course, in my opinion, from the person living in London for 7 years now. But I believe that these are the things that a lot of Londoners would say and I'm actually right about. So let's talk about those things so you can be prepared and get to know which stereotypes are true and how a real life in London actually look like. For anyone new here, I'm Justina. I'm an occupational psychologist and empowerment coach, and I love everything about mental health, health optimization, and everything about psychology and neuroscience. And I also live in London, so I can share some of my knowledge and experience about this city and some facts what to expect when coming here. So I've been living in England for about 7 years now, and when I moved to London 6 years ago, I came here to study. And after a bachelor, there was a master, and after master, there was one job, second job, third job, and here we are. And I had my times when I was very explorative. I was behaving like a real tourist to really get to know the city. And now I really believe that I can say that I know certain aspects of London. So I want to share my knowledge and expertise about the city to really prepare you for what real London looks like. So let's start with the first thing, and the first thing is of course that this city has a lot of people everywhere, like everywhere. London is a huge international city that has over 9 million, probably even more than 9 million people living in it, and it can get really crowded, especially in central London. So if you don't like crowds, I don't think that this is a place for you, because it is really hard to avoid people in London. Underground is usually extremely busy and crowded, and you might be in the situation that you will be squeezed like a tuna in the can, especially during the rush hours when you're in underground. There's of course a lot of people not only working here, so there is a lot of competition when looking for new job opportunities. There is also plenty of tourists. So when you go to central London and very touristic places like Oxford Street for shopping, be prepared that even during the weekdays there will be plenty of people, and you might be always surrounded by a big crowd. So also when you're coming to restaurants or to do something like museum or some fun activity, be prepared that everything needs to be booked in advance. And I'm not talking in advance like one day in advance. I would say that just to be sure, for the places that everyone wants to visit, you will need to make a booking like 1 or 2 months in advance. When my mom and my sister were visiting me last year in London, I made sure that I booked opera tickets 2 months in advance, because I didn't want to be surprised by unavailability of those tickets and do things last minute to increase the chance that those plans are not going to work out. So please make your bookings in advance. People in London, they need to have a great organizational skills and planning skills, because you can't just go out on Friday night to Central and expect that you will have available table. You might do have still available table, but if you want to make sure that you are getting the table in the restaurant that you want at the time that you want, then make your booking. Second thing is of course that London is expensive. First, we have expensive transport. Underground is quite expensive compared to other cities. Trains are extremely expensive. We have also taxis, like black cabs are more expensive than traditional Uber, but we also have Bolt and Free Now. And that's just transport. And of course you need to rely on transport unless you want to use your car. But of course there's so many people and there's so many cars that you will be stuck in a traffic for hours probably, especially in central London. And actually the average commute time in London is 72 minutes, so be prepared that minimum transport time would be like 40 minutes. So you do need transport unless you want to keep on walking for hours. from one point to another, then good luck. And then not only transport is expensive, but also accommodation is, especially nowadays. Those prices of rental or houses, like everywhere, are much higher than before. And you can actually find a lot of memes about London prices for example, one studio in central London, that they would charge you £2,000 and the toilet would be next to your bed and probably next to your oven as well. And actually that kind of properties do happen, they are real, so the prices sometimes are just ridiculous and the standard of those rentals are just inhumane. So when you're coming to London, be prepared to spend a lot of money, probably even the half of your salary on rent. And when you're renting or you're living in the house that you just bought, you will also need to pay a council tax, which depends on the area that you live in. So there are certain areas where the council tax is much cheaper than the others. So if you're interested in not spending more money on just the flat or the house, choose wisely the area that you're going to be living in and check the prices beforehand. And I could be saying that there is a lot of more other expensive things in London, and there is like food or clothes or other activities. And if you're looking for something expensive, I bet that you're going to find it, especially in London. But there's actually a lot of free things. And I want to make you aware of those things, because if you're on a budget and you're spending so much money on hotels or on renting a flat, perhaps you want to do something more affordable on the weekends or while you're here. And every museum is for free. Sometimes you just need to book a ticket, and those museums are varied. There's a science museum, there's a national museum, there's national galleries. There's plenty of places that you can visit and see for free. So do your research and maybe book something in advance, so then you can take advantage of those activities that are for free. Then another thing on a good side is that you can find any cuisine that you want, any restaurant that you're basically dreaming about. If you want to try British food or Chinese food or Indian food, Spanish, Italian, Polish, you name it and you will find it. And the same is with grocery stores. In London there is not only normal British grocery stores, but also shops with national products of Italy or Spain or Polish grocery shops. And nowadays there is a lot of Korean or Chinese shops as well, especially in Chinatown, where you can go and try their authentic foods. Because London is such a multicultural place. You can find anyone from any country around the world. And that's of course an advantage, but also it can be a downside, because everyone can have a different accent. So sometimes it's hard to understand each other. So when you go somewhere, you can't really assume that everyone speaks like people on BBC News or they have Queen's English. Majority of people have their own accents because of their nationality or because of the place they were raised in England. And England doesn't have one accent, because depending on the part they are living in, they can speak differently, and sometimes it's extremely hard to understand them. But that's also a beauty of it, and the variety of attractions you can find out there. Then another thing that needs to be addressed is that London is extremely fast-paced. Everyone is running, everyone is rushing, everyone is hustling all the time. So please do stand on the right side of escalators, because people on the left side want to walk and be faster or get somewhere faster than you. And even though it has a lot of tourists, of course, there is a lot of people that are working, or they are trying to hustle or do something with their lives. And in London, there is this sense that you need to be fast. You need to rush somewhere all the time, because you see other people rushing, and there is actually a lot of things to do here. So you don't want to waste your time or your life, so you just need to be faster. And who knows where those people are actually running to. Maybe they are just working, because London is such a great place for career enhancement. You can meet so many amazing people. And this is really the city when your dreams become true, if you know where to go and what to do, and you know right people. So there is plenty of networking events, there is plenty of situations where somebody got a job because they knew the right person and they were at the right time. And this is really a city of opportunities. So if you're into career development, this might be actually the best place for you to be. But if you're into pubs, that can also be the best place for you, because pubs here in England generally are everywhere, and the same in London. There are so many different companies that have pubs everywhere. So basically on every single corner there is one pub, and this is actually quite a British tradition to just sit in a pub after work or on the weekend, or to go on Sunday for Sunday roast, which is their British dinner, and watch probably some football. But pubs are usually much cheaper than some restaurants, and they do serve British food. So if you want to discover how fish and chips taste like, or try Sunday roast, or maybe English breakfast, this is the place for you to go and to feel a little bit of this British culture. Another thing that we need to mention is the weather. And English weather is known to be basically bad. And at the beginning, when I was living here, I didn't really want to believe in it, but the more I live here, the more you notice. And nowadays, I barely see the sun. So there is a high chance that when you're going to be living in London, you might never see the sun at all. Sometimes it is somewhere behind the clouds. Sometimes it feels like there is no sun at all because it's so dark in the morning. But if you can't live without the sun, London might not be the place for you. And then on top of the weather, there is a lot of pollution. Not only noise pollution, but also, of course, air pollution and people pollution. London is such a big city, and there is plenty of people, plenty of cars, people talk, people scream. There's so much noise that usually people are just overstimulated when they come here for a longer time. That's why I all the time sit at home and isolate myself from people. And that's why when my friends or family are visiting me, I tell them to book the holidays for max 7 days, not longer, because it's just unbearable or very exhausting to keep on sightseeing every day in this environment, in this overstimulated environment, when everything is happening at the same time. Maybe if you're younger and you want to be in the center of everything what's going on, and you are a student and you're just experiencing or exploring the world, that might be the place for you. Another important thing to mention is that London is split into zones. There are 6 main zones, but there is actually more zones that are going outside of London, and it's theoretically not London anymore, but it is considered as zone of London. And then of course the main attractions, touristic attractions, and the whole central is in zone 1. And when people live in London for a longer period of time, they tend to divide London into 4 parts: north, south, east and west, and they tend to have their preferences where to go or where to live, because there is a lot of stereotypes or descriptions that, for example, in West London there is a lot of rich and influential people because of the Kensington area, because of Harrods. North is a little bit calmer area, a little bit artsy and also wealthy. East is more vibrant for students and artsy as well. And then the south part is a little bit less wealthy and also with less of transport links, so it might be harder to commute from there. And people not only have their own preferences about, of course, which part to live in London, but they also have a certain assumptions when you're living in one part of London or the other. And it also means how much you're going to pay for rent or how expensive your life is going to be based on those either zones or either parts of London. And I guess I mentioned a lot of negative things about London, or a lot of things that might be a little bit troubling, but I believe that it is something necessary to know. But if after hearing that, or if after living in London for a while, you just want to leave or try some other city in England or maybe another country. A good advantage of being in London is that it is so easy to get out from London because there are so many cheap flights to all around the world. The trains are even the international trains you can get from London to Paris, Netherlands or Amsterdam via Eurostar. Or if you go from London to south of England, you can even go for a cruise. So if you go to London and you don't like it, don't worry, you can always leave very easily. And these are all the things that I believe it's so worth mentioning when considering to start living in London or maybe visiting London, because these are the things that not a lot of people mention about how real London looks like. So I hope you found this video useful and you've learned something new, but I'm also curious about what you think or what you've noticed about London while living here or maybe while visiting. Please share your thoughts in the comments down below, and please don't forget to subscribe to my channel not to miss my next video about London, more tips about living in London, and I'll see you in the next video.